produced that book in 1 year. And I had never written a book before in my life. So I was afraid that I would not be able to produce a book in a year. So I got this non-Harvard think tank in Washington that allowed me to produce the book in 2 years. So I said, okay. By the time I run around, I should be able to bring something out in 2 years. I packed my things and left Nigeria for Washington. In March 2003, still very cold, my phone rang. And it was from a very unlikely source. It was President Obasanjo. And he wanted to find out when next I would be in Nigeria. Very unusual inquiry. Why are you interested in when next I will be in Nigeria? Do you want to see me? He said yes. But I'll tell you why he wanted me when I was in Nigeria. He wasn't willing to pay my flight for my flight. So he wanted it to be my own trip to Nigeria that he will use. So I said, if you want to see me, why don't you send me a ticket? And then I'll come. He said, no, he can wait, he can wait. Are you around in April? You know, the English is mixed with the Egba, and you just make sense of it. And I said, yeah. Gave me this appointment, 1:00 p.m. And I got into his office at 1 p.m. And as soon as I sat, he said to a gentleman called Kayode, call Ufot for me. And Nekaite Ufot came in. And he said, Fola, you are going to do something for me. I said, what do you want me to do for you? He said, you are going to look into pension for me. I said, okay. He said, abuse me if you want to, tear my clothes if you want to, right? But you have access to me 24 hours. This thing is so important to me. I cannot sleep. Help me solve this problem. That was what Obasanjo said to me in the presence of Ekaite Ufot. And he said, Ufot, give him everything you have on pension. Everything you have on pension. When can he get it? I said, this meeting started at 1. The man said, if he comes to my office at 3, he will get it. Can you go to his office at 3? I said, yes, I could. He said, okay, that's all. That's why I wanted to see you. I had no letter of appointment. And if anybody ever told you that there was a committee, there was no committee. That was the assignment. And I left Obasanjo's office. This is the first time I'm telling this story publicly because I also have heard so much about the pension reform, which is nice. There are 4 gospels in the Bible on the ministry of Christ. They don't stand in each other's way. And it doesn't even make me right. I'm just telling you my own version. Like Luke said to Theophilus, this is what appears to me to be the ministry of Christ. This is what I witnessed. And 3 o'clock I was in Ekaite Ufot's office. Seasoned civil servant, public servant. He had tied all the documents with the rope and he just gave it to me. There was nothing to discuss. This is what I was told to give you. No office, no car, no paper, nothing. So I went back to my house. I still kept a home in Abuja then. And I started poring over these documents. This may not be your idea of a keynote speech, but this is my keynote speech. I started poring over them. Page 1 never correlated with page 2. No, the back page. Okay, after looking at everything, I said to myself, I'm a research fellow. I don't live here. I need somebody to help me while I'm in Washington doing my work, and then I can be guiding this process. And I called Nasiru El-Rufai. We were quite a few who were friendly, who could rely on ourselves. Nasiru, Doma. Nasiru had an office, BP, and he had staff working with him. So he should be able to spare somebody. So Nasiru agreed that Chinelo Anohu will be seconded to me by BP. In other words, they will be paying her salary, but she will be working with me on pension. The following day, he called me. He said, I've got somebody much better than Chinelo. My suspecting glands started working. Nasiru, you gave me somebody yesterday. You now have somebody better than that person today. Why is he going to give me somebody better? I said, what is the name of the person? Mention the name. He said, but you can choose one of the two. I said, the one you gave me yesterday is the one I choose. He said, but this one is better. I said, Nasiru, take that one. He said, but honestly, I'm telling you, this one is better. I said, take that one. Is it not me? Unless that is the only one I have. He couldn't say that. I said, no. Apparently, the Chinelo that was sent to me was told by Nasiru that she had a return ticket. If you go there and he abuses you, and you can't work with, because everybody has heard that, Fola is a mad person when it comes to work. He's going to abuse you, he's going to blah, blah, blah. Just come back. So between Chinelo and Nasiru, they were offering me somebody else, but it was too late. And I didn't live in Abuja, I lived in Lagos. So Nasiru had told her that she was coming to work with me in Lagos. Obasanjo didn't give me an office, he didn't give me money, he didn't give me anything. I should just solve the pension problem. After 1 week, I realized that, if you look at her now, you wonder whether she can walk. At that time, it was even worse. So can this small girl do this work? I called Gani Ogunleye in NDIC. I need somebody to be seconded to me. I understand you have one man there who has a PhD in actuarial science. It's nice to work for president. Ogunleye never wanted to leave anybody. I said, well, you can give the person to me or can get President Obasanjo to call you to release that person to me. He said, but I can only release him for 1 month. That is enough. 1 month. That was the end of Dr. Musa and NDIC. Ogunleye could not get him anymore. So I had these two people. And I had to go back to Washington. After 2 trips to Washington, I realized that I had to make a choice between being a research fellow or solving the pension problem in Nigeria. I had to sit down here. So I wrote to my funders. And I said to them, my country has just asked me to come and do this. And it's going to stand in the way of the research that I was doing. Can I divert the funds that you gave me to solve the pension problem in Nigeria? After 2 weeks, they said yes. Along with my own money, that was the money we used to solve the pension problem in Nigeria as we knew it. The federal government of Nigeria did not write any check. We did not. President Obasanjo kept calling, how much do you want to earn? I'll tell you what my fear was. My fear was, I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Why would I charge a man or for a job that I hadn't done before, that I had to just keep looking and keep learning as I was solving the problem? And one day I said to him, no, I will not be taking any money. It was a bit tougher than that. He called me one day and he said, I was already on his economic team, number 18 on the list. And he said, every time I want to pass something to you, I don't know what to do. I said, what's the problem? He said, in government, I cannot be writing Fola Adeola. It's either the minister, the DG, the DD, the OO. That's how we do things here. What are we going to call you? I said, the day you call me anything, that's the day I will not work on this thing anymore. He said, but we have to call you something. I said, you can't call me anything. My name is Fola Adeola. That's how you will write the thing to me. He sent me to Ahmed Yayale. And Ahmed Yayale said, yeah, why don't we call you National Coordinator Pension? I said, stop it. Stop it. Coordinating what? Before I knew it, He was on the phone to Obasanjo. He has accepted national coordinator for. I said, thank you. When I went back to President Obasanjo, I said I will not take national coordination. He said, okay. Okay. Will you take advisor to the president? I said, I don't want. Let us go and solve this problem. We'll give it to you. That is how we began our work without any titles. Enough of that. There's a bit more of the trivia, but that is not important. We started working, and our work took us to different parts of the world, again at our own cost. A director was sent to us by Ministry of Justice to come and help us draft whatever it is that we wanted to write. And when she got to my home where we were working, it could not have been conducive to a director. We were on my dining table, papers scattered here, computers and printers. She came for one meeting, and the next thing we knew was that she was going to be sending a representative. But we are so grateful to God that it was a representative that was sent, John Ugolo. God bless his soul. Every word that was contained in the Pension Reform Act 2004 came out of the fingers of John Ugolo. He sat there, and I would be on his neck with Timmy Austin Peters, and I'm coming to Timmy shortly, and we'll be dictating, and the clause will not appear okay to us, and then we will redictate. I say, okay, this appears okay, and that's how we came out. But when he came to the trip to Mexico, the director appeared again, because that was a trip with per diem. Nobody knew it was coming from, but it was going to their pocket. But we insisted that whether the director went or not, John Ugolo had to come with us. John came with us. The last person on the team, or in the team, was somebody I would call, in football parlance, he was out of contract. You know, when you sign somebody on a free, he didn't work for government, he ran his own farm. And this young man came to me and said, this pension that you are doing, I want to be a part of it. I said, there is no money. I can't pay you. He said, I don't want money. I just want to be a part of it and understand and be part. I said, if you are ready to work for free, we need people. That is how Timmy Austin Peters, I don't know what he told his wife, that he was working without money, and she agreed. But the Timmy Austin Peters became a part and parcel of that team. Those are the only people that I remember. Maybe there are other people that found themselves there. I don't have any recollection of seeing them nor working with them. So these are the people who are moving up and down, running into problems of escorts in different places. These are the people that we laugh together, we suffer together, we work together. And then Obasanjo was due to receive the report on the 31st of May. That was the agreement I reached with him. We were still I think we were in Mexico around the first week or second week of May. The first draft came out. And I then sent it personally to 5 different people, including 2 people who had been my professors and 1 person in the World Bank, to review it and give us their comment. When the comments came, it was like my O-level essay. All sorts of, what were you thinking when you put this one there? Does this make sense to you, Fola? How do you expect this to work? You know, when I got the document and I read it from the beginning to the end, I burst into tears. So what are we going to do? Then I came down, and our time in Mexico was over. And I said to all of them, I said, I'm not leaving Mexico unless we finish this work. And one after the other, they said they were not leaving Mexico, they were going to stay with me. Timmy said he was not leaving Mexico. Chinelo said she was not leaving Mexico. John Ugolo wasn't going to leave Mexico. Dr. Musa wasn't going to leave Mexico. So we stayed in Mexico, and we reviewed every clause that was critiqued and tried to find solutions to them until we were satisfied. By which time we had said to Obasanjo, We will not be able to deliver on the 31st of May. We will be ready on the 30th of June. And he has said to people who are close to him, yeah, I'm frustrated with this country. They can't do work. They can't get anything delivered. 30th of June, we deliver the 2004 reform to Obasanjo. I had hoped at that time that this is a Nigerian venture. All you were asked to do was to just write the report, and they will put it somewhere, and nothing will happen to it. So I was ready to go back to Washington. And these are the lessons that we learned. As powerful as he was, as strong as he was, nearly every night or every other night, Obasanjo and I were in the same car, visiting one person or the other, selling pension reform. He called all the newspaper owners into one room, whether House 10 or House 7, and I recall addressing them at 2 a.m. in the morning, trying to sell the pension reform. Adolphus Wabara, who just appeared in his home, and they told him upstairs that the president was downstairs, and he started running downstairs. And that was how I got into the Senate chamber to go and sell the pension reform. Even though Yaya Ale was a critical part of pension system in Nigeria, we had to go and sit down in his office to say to him, this is the direction that we're going. Bless him. I said to him tonight that I didn't know that it was billionaires that ran the office of the head of service. When Yaya Ale was there, he only gave me groundnuts. And every time I see him, I don't know where he has kept the million. I'm still going to ask for my own part of that, of the billion, because of what we read in paper. But you know, like a thorough professional, took everything in bits and pieces, gave his own advice, and by the time we were getting to Obasanjo, Yaya Ale had told Obasanjo that he was reading something that looked like would solve the problem. We dropped this into President Obasanjo at 1 o'clock. He said he was going to sleep. He hardly slept in the afternoon. And he said he would call us back at 8. By 3 o'clock, the entire presidency was looking for me. When I got, they said, Baba was looking for you. What is going on? They said he was dancing in the villa and that he wanted to see everybody. I said, no. I wanted to see me. I said, no, he wasn't going to see me alone. He was going to see everybody that worked with me. And then I did the letter that the president must write to everybody that worked, because he didn't know them. I hear him saying that he set up a committee. Let him come and say that to me. He didn't set up a committee. But people served their country and served his government without any payment, any form of payment. Right? So he had to write them a letter to thank them for the work that they did. But because I was the one that wrote the letter that the president was going to sign, I didn't write my own. So I never got any letter. But I'm glad that they got letters. And I've seen that letter in some of their offices where they have framed them. Their letters represent my own letter. I don't have a problem with that. Now, we then started walking up and down trying to sell the reform. So many negotiations, naturally. Accusations and counter-accusations. In the Senate, they said, how much did you charge for this job? I said, we did it for free. He said, you did it for free? Okay, you have carved your own out of Nigeria and you are now pretending to do it for free. You cannot be angry. That was the understanding of the person making the point. What is your role, Mr. Adeola? I'm just a Nigerian. Are you a consultant? I said, no. So why are you doing this work? I said, the president asked me to do it. Have you done it before? I said, no. But how does that affect the work? You must have an interest. Nobody does things like this. That was how the people saw that. Why will you make share capital 1 billion? You are excluding the North. The North doesn't have money. So only Yorubas and Igbos are going to do this thing. How much do you want? 150 million. Okay, we put it there, 150 million. I don't have a problem. If you get to the market to set up a PFA and 150 million finishes, the work will not start. I kept saying to President Obasanjo, this is not a problem. 150 million cannot do this work, but it's not a problem. If they finish 150 million, they either go and look for more, or they will stop. That was how we finished the work. And then, what was the pension field at that time? Insurance companies were taking premiums that they didn't intend to reinsure about, and they were the ones fueling the approving authorities not to approve. The governor of Edo State, bless his soul, there was no name he didn't call me, he's my friend. But it's all in the course of the work that they do. But we got it approved, thanks to Obasanjo and his doggedness. He sank his teeth into it, did all he could. We got it into approved, and I thought my job was over. And on this Saturday, I had left Abuja on Friday, and the president called me on Friday night. We have a meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. I said, it's environmental in Lagos. I cannot move. Can we have the meeting in the afternoon? He said, no, the meeting had to go on. I said, no problem then. I wish you all the best. And it was at that meeting that they were setting up the PenCom board. And I was not there, but I was told reliably that it took the fastidiousness of Ahmad Yayale for people to accept that I could be the chairman of PenCom. I wonder why Yayale did that, because I had done enough. But I didn't know it was here at that time because I would have fought him. And that was how, again, I was sent on a journey, yet another journey to build. And we started building PenCom. Part of the negotiation was that we were going to get the DG from the northwest. Thinking that MK Ahmed was from the northwest, I dropped him on Obasanjo's lap. It was after he had done 8 years in PenCom that I realized that he was from the northeast. Even the people in the northwest who wanted northwest didn't know themselves. And Dr. Musa, that was from the northwest, was also with us as commissioner. Musa made commissioner, he was in the team. Austin Peters was going to go back to his practice, so he didn't want any of that full-time job. It was only Chinelu that was left. And Obasanjo had only one candidate, former Auditor General of the Federation, who was from the southeast. So Chinelu was out in the cold, and I was not in the room. Egeyayale said, but why don't we appoint the company secretary? I had spoken to him, and I said that is the worst that we should accept. And he rose to fight the battle. She probably didn't know how she became company secretary of PenCom, but that is the person who threw your name there when nobody was there. All this happened 10 years ago, and it's not a story that we are interested in telling. But there are nights for storytelling. I think this is one of such nights. So that's how you became secretary, and that's why you escaped 2 terms and no more. And at that time, when you were abusing me that all I could get you was secretary, not knowing that you had nothing, Providence had already said that that's the way it will go, so that you could be DG 10 years later. I cannot take credit for it. But let me talk a bit. Let's leave that history. I just said a bit so that when people are talking about events that they were not part of, or they didn't talk to people who are part of those events, let them moderate what they say, because they just talk. What did we do? What did we want to do? We wanted a system that would take the money out of the government, put it in the private sector, but also not in the hands of the private sector without regulation. We ring-fenced this fund in such a manner. When they tell you that there's been no fraud in 10 years, all I kept waiting for is, let me see how that fraud will come out. because we tightened it because we knew the system. What was uppermost in our mind was the person who will have finished working after 35 years and is become slower. The hands cannot move, the legs cannot move as before, and they needed their money. And we saw them dying in queues. It was more important to me that we gave them something rather than the nothing. The way I put it in my notes is that I don't know whether the system we recommended was the best. But what I know for certain is that it is better than promises not kept. The money may not be enough, but the money is there. And you are in constant touch with your money. That was important to us. All the economic side effect was not the problem for me. I didn't mind low interest rate. Safety was paramount. We didn't want a scenario where the person will now need his or her money and the money will not be there. That was clear to us. And in structuring the 2004 reform, we were clear that we are not going to abuse the money. So many people were interested. Left to the people in the capital market alone, all the money should be in equity. Left to the people who are doing infrastructure, all the money should be in infrastructure. Everybody wanted this money, but there was no money in 2004. We were owing. And we began by collecting the first contribution, the next contribution, and I sit down here, and they tell me that it's 4.5 trillion. In my entire career, it is not a figure I've ever written by my hand, nor typed into a computer. I don't understand what that figure is. But you see, 10 years ago it was 0 or minus. 10 years later it's 4.5 trillion. What do you think is going to be in 10 years' time? Assuming we don't mess it up. We have seen countries where the pension fund is the largest contributor to their GDP. It's because they allow it to happen. What have been the lessons or the regrets of the last 10 years? Because this fund has not opened itself to fraud or to malfeasance, everybody is now asking to take his own out of the fund. The police want to be out of the fund. The army want to be out of the fund. Everybody, why do they want to be out? Because they want to go back to what they used to do, right? And steal the money of the people. It's not on. It's not on. Why do you want to go out of the fund? You can argue for your contributions or for your employer's contributions to be raised. You can do that. But unless we remain within the structure that we set up for the fund, there is no amount of money. That is one of the first things that Aliko said to me way back. There's no amount of money that cannot finish. No amount of money. It's how you handle the money, right, that decides whether it's going to evaporate or it's going to stay. When I was very young, we used to hear of a man called Adnan Khashoggi. And the first gold bathtub and wash-hand basin that they talked about in England was owned by Khashoggi. But let me tell you something. Khashoggi is still alive. But who talks about Khashoggi? And where is all the money? There's no amount of money that cannot finish. And, you know, for PenCom, the idea is not to be telling people there's 4.5 trillion here. It's not your money. You only regulate how that money is handled and is protected. That is, so there's 4.5 trillion naira. Where is it? Are you a signatory to it? No. It will enhance the development of our nation at its own time. But it's not something we keep saying as if the money is somewhere and people should come and take it. It is for people who have worked, right? So that in their old age, they have access to the reward of labor. That is what the money is for. Number two, The old system must die. We cannot continue to have transition over 10 years. What did we do? We gave them a cutoff, right? Those people who have worked in public service up to this point can continue on that old system. And people who joined at this point must move onto this system. The old system hasn't died. It hasn't died. And it's something that must be tapering down. And this is something that PenCom must also educate the president and work with him. The old system must die. That is where they are taking money. That is the office of the head of service today. Nothing else. It must die. They've now created another transition capsule. To do what? Anybody that gets that job doesn't want to go. So they continue to extend the life of something. We are migrating. We are moving from an old system to a new system. We allow a short time for that period, for that transition to occur. Everybody moves into a new system. We cannot run two pension systems in the country. It must die. And we must give it a terminal date. I don't have numbers anymore. That is the anchor for my vision for the next 10 years. And as we are getting bigger in base, in amount, let us be careful how we release money to infrastructure. We must release money to all these areas. But, we can start with 1%. Let us take that figure that if we run into trouble, it allows us to correct, you understand, and cope with the trouble that we have run into. If you put 10% there and you lose the money, you are dead. And the greatest thing in this system that we have put there is trust. And when trust is broken and is breached, no faith in this system anymore. I have talked about exclusion, no more exclusion. I also saw the commissioners that have come in. What was it that I told the chairman of PenCom when he became chairman of PenCom? And he called me because he's also a personal friend. I said, let us establish some facts. You are the one that called me. He said yes. You are the one that asked for my advice. He said yes. I said you need to ask yourself one question and one question alone. Is this something you really want to do? This is one job that can take you to paradise. But this is 10%. But this is one job that can take you to hell, 90%. It is not a place where you are going to play with money. You don't have money. The people who are going to access this money, by the time they are going to access the money, don't have any teeth left in their mouth. If those people keep cursing you, what are your chances of getting into paradise? And then we understood what the job was. I want to congratulate you again for 10 years and wish you an even brighter 10 years, so that when you are celebrating your 20th year, it is still going to be a respected institution, not a place for flair or for spending money. It's a place for harnessing money, preserving money, and putting money to the best use. I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. He has indeed taken us memory lane and looking forward to what the next 10 years will be like. Thank you very much, Mr. Fola Adiola. Very quickly, we'll have short goodwill messages from just two people. I'd like to welcome here the president of the Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, to step forward here for a short goodwill message as PenCom celebrates 10 years. You're welcome, sir.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, well, my boss asked me to tell you that there's no amount of money that cannot finish. That's Mr. Pascal Dozier. Well, I would like to congratulate Fola Adiola for setting up this gigantic pension fund. And also the DG, Chinelu, whom we are very, very proud of, and I was telling her that I think she needs to really try and overhaul the pension, the PenCom. One of the things that when you look at it today, we need to actually copy what PIC is doing in South Africa, where they are actually investing pensioners' money rather than relying more on bonds and other stuff. We need to look at critically how can we add value to the economy of the country rather than just doing the current things that we're doing, because I know that there's quite a lot of changes that they've done. And I must commend Chinelu for leading that trajectory, in trying to see what we can do. Right now, I think they have just about 6 million workers. They still do need to get another 45 to 47 million workers into the bracket of pension. Because one day all of us will have to rely on the pension, when we retire. So I congratulate you. I know that Fola has said it all, and I don't really want to bore you. I should allow you to have your good meal and then, start heading home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now finally, as far as the goodwill message is concerned, here's the chairman of the Corporate Council on Africa. Let me welcome him, Sir Paul Hinks.
Good evening, everybody. Now, you have to listen carefully to me for a couple of minutes. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Paul Hinks. I'm the chairman of the Corporate Council on Africa in Washington, D.C., and I'm the chief executive of a company in the electricity sector called Symbian Power. Now, I'm here tonight actually on a covert mission from the United States. Last week, I was called to see the president, and he told me, Paul, there's some funny things going on in West Africa at the moment, and I'd like you to go out because Nigeria is claiming that they're okay. Will you go out under a pseudonym and check this out for us and file a report as soon as you get there to tell us, is there Ebola in Nigeria? So I packed my things, I took my pseudonym, which was Babatunde Adewale, and flew off to Nigeria. When I got here last night, I arrived at the airport and had a guy pointing a gun at my head because he spotted I was the only person from America arriving in the country. Now tonight, which is my first event, and I'm only here for 24 hours as Babatunde Adewale, that I would come here and I would file an immediate report from the event. So tonight when I got here, I managed to get all these beautiful ladies dressed in blue that are serving you the drinks. I got them all around me outside and I got a photograph taken and I filed my first report. And I said, President Obama, I arrived in Nigeria and I've been quarantined. And it's great. Joking apart, and we shouldn't joke about something which is so serious in other parts of West Africa, obviously, but I think that the thing I wanted to say is that, we're all living over at that side in the United States and in Britain, whatever. But in America, we get into mass hysteria. I think Nigeria's done an amazing job here. and I'm really going to file a report when I get back that Nigeria is really fine, really doing well. Now, before I sit down, I want to tell you something about my own experience of doing business in Nigeria. 3 years ago, I brought my company, Symbian Power, here, and many people at that time who really don't know Nigeria were saying, oh, you know, it's a difficult place, there's all these problems, there's all these people, they send you emails and it says, I'm going to give you $1 million, etc. It's a difficult place. So I came here and I got involved in the electricity sector and as a bidder in the privatization process that Nigeria has just completed. Without going on too long, I want to tell you that not only did we find the most fantastic partners to work with, every moment of our experience with Nigeria since I embarked on this, it's not even 3 years, 2.5 years ago, has been wonderful. You guys, to me, to the people I work day in, day out with in the United States, to me, Nigeria today is Africa's leader. You picked up the mantle. South Africa, it ain't South Africa at all. It's Nigeria. And I wish you the best of luck, but I think that there's going to be many, many good things happening on the continent, and I think there are going to be many successful people that come out of this nation that help Africa overall. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And so, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us lighten up the environment a little bit as I invite one of the most creative, highly intellectual comedians around here. His act is entirely different and unique. He comes from the intellectual platform. I'd like to welcome on stage, ladies and gentlemen, Bovi.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I have your attention. It gives me great joy to stand and use this microphone that so many great people have just used. Where do I start from? Mr. Paul, that's your name, right? Mr. Paul. Okay, so first off, I'm going to give you... Oh, your covert name is Adewale. It's not Adewala, okay? I'm going to send you back to President Obama, right? Tell him we're perfect here, we're fine. And we didn't even have the ZMAP drug to handle Ebola, but we handled it. Nigeria is the only country where that disease came into and we cramped it, okay? You guys have the drug. We don't have it. We're Ebola free. America is not Ebola free till now. Okay? Yeah. It gives me great joy because I think back, I remember those days when you will see pension queues, long queues with old people, frail people. Some of them used to slump, actually. I listened to Mr. Fola Adiola, and I was impressed. I would say I am proud to be Nigerian because it shows we are getting things right in this country. So from me to you, Mr. Fola Adiola, I'll say thank you. Thank you very much. Where is he? Is he still around? Where's Mr. Adiola? He stepped out. Okay. The only part of his speech I didn't like is where they asked you how much you will charge and you didn't charge. In my mind, you are still owed, Mr. Adiola. If you don't need the money, collect it and send it to me. I don't mind at all. That's how it rolls in Nigeria. I've been looking at the way things are going. I just came back from Canada, and when I was entering Canada, they had the same fear of Ebola, and I told them the same thing. We have it under control. Even my American friends, they tell me that the things they see on CNN are different from the things I'm saying. I say, yes, that's the truth. we have Ebola under control. And he brought up the issue of the missing girls. And I said, the good thing is we will find those girls.